Damning and explicit text messages revealed during the David preliminary hearing today, allegedly proving the rising music star had a sexual relationship with 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. On top of the accusations that David killed Celeste, dismembered her body, and disposed of it. It's important to remember that he is also charged with sexual abuse of a child under 14.
This is the exact moment his own digital footprint catches up with him. For days, rising music star David Anthony Burke, known to millions streaming his music as D4vd, sits in a Los Angeles courtroom like a statue.
David, however, has been, we're told, pretty stoic through it all.
He doesn't fidget. He doesn't look down. He stares straight ahead, completely stoic, while graphic, unimaginable descriptions of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez's dismembered remains are read into the official record. Nothing breaks his facade. Not the autopsy photos. Not the cadaver bags.
All week, we have heard about moments in the courtroom that cause people to leave, to look away, to gasp. And there's no question that the images in a case like this are difficult to look at. But you have to wonder, based on how members of the media are reacting during a preliminary hearing, how might a jury react if they see what prosecutors have presented?
But today, the prosecution stops talking about the body they found. They start talking about the iPhone they recovered. And within 10 minutes, you can watch an entire multi-million-dollar defense narrative completely collapse in real time.
Previously, we heard the relationship characterized as maybe one-sided, right? It sounded like Celeste, this teenager, was pushing for more, and she was jealous of David's relationships with other women. So the text messages that were read aloud and shown to us in court today actually flip that narrative.
Detective Farrell, if you could turn to page 42 of the extraction report, that's the prosecutor, clinical, direct, and holding a stack of printed papers that are about to change the entire trajectory of this murder trial.
Today in court, during day 4 of this preliminary hearing, we actually got to see and read some of those text messages.
All week, David's defense team has been playing a very specific, very careful game. They've been painting a picture of a wildly successful young musician who was simply overwhelmed by an obsessed, unstable fan. They want the judge, and the public, to believe Celeste was the one pushing for a relationship, that she was the one demanding marriage, stalking him, driving the chaotic dynamic that eventually, allegedly, ended in an accidental tragedy. But digital evidence doesn't have an agenda. It just keeps time.
A lot of damning evidence today as it relates to not the murder charge, but another felony charge in this case against David Anthony Burke.
Detective Corey Farrell with the LAPD takes the stand. He has the iCloud extractions, and what he reads aloud to a dead silent courtroom isn't just evidence of the continuous sexual abuse of a child. It is a step-by-step, time-stamped manual of how to groom, isolate, and erase a human being.
We've reported on this. Prosecutors have described photos they found in David's iCloud account on his devices. They've described text messages between the two of them referencing sexual activity and things like abortion, emergency contraception.
Can you identify the two phone numbers in this exchange from January 12, 2024? Yes. The outgoing messages are from a device registered to the defendant. The incoming messages are from a device registered to the victim. And at the time of these messages, how old was Celeste? She was 13 years old.
But today we actually saw messages discussing an abortion appointment for Celeste in January of 2024. Now do the math there. Her birthday was September of 2010. She was 13 when this purported abortion took place.
Pause right there, because in a courtroom full of legal jargon and forensic terminology, those 5 words drop like an anvil. She was 13 years old. Her 14th birthday wasn't until September.
And you just can't get past her age during all of this. She is 13. She is just barely 14.
It's just awful.
Please read the exchange for the court, starting at timestamp 2014 p.m. The detective looks down at his notes. He doesn't use inflection. He just reads the data.
They've described text messages between the two of them referencing sexual activity and things like abortion, emergency contraception.
The defendant writes, "Did you take the pill yet? You have to take it today." The victim responds, I don't know. It hurts really bad. I'm bleeding a lot and I'm scared. Can you come over? The defendant writes, "I can't right now. I have studio time. Just take the second one. We agreed on this. We want 2 kids later, but not right now. You have to handle this." 2 people. 2 completely different realities. Listen to the coldness of that response. I have studio time. 3 words that tell you exactly where a terrified, bleeding 13-year-old girl ranks against a rising pop career. There is no panic on his end. There is only schedule management, but it's the victim's response 10 minutes later that actually breaks the room. She writes, "I would do anything to take it back. I want to go back. Please, I don't want to do this anymore."
Where we just wrapped court this afternoon, we were looking at text messages where Celeste is now expressing regret, telling David over text that she would do anything to take that back.
That's the pivot. That's the moment the entire atmosphere in the room shifts. Because up until this exact second in the preliminary hearing, Celeste had been presented purely as forensic evidence. She was a collection of severed limbs. She was an autopsy subject on a stainless steel table.
And I think it's because this is actually the first time during the course of this preliminary hearing where Celeste is being presented as a living human, a young girl who is very much alive, a young girl who has a voice, who is expressing her feelings, her wants, her needs. Before this, she was a bag of decomposing body parts. She was an autopsy subject. She was a collection of limbs that had been severed from each other.
She was a problem for the defense to solve. But hearing those broken, terrified words from a 13-year-old child who is alone, bleeding, and begging for comfort from the man who put her in that situation, it makes her undeniably human again.
This is actually the first time during the course of this preliminary hearing where Celeste is being presented as a living human, a young girl who is very much alive, a young girl who has a voice, who is expressing her feelings, her wants, her needs.
It makes her a little girl, not an obsessed fan, not a stalker, just a kid who wants to go back.
You're hearing Celeste in her own words for the first time.
And sitting in the gallery, her mother, Mercedes, simply cannot take it anymore. A suffocated, agonizing sob breaks the silence of the courtroom. Mercedes stands up, knocking her chair backward. She practically runs out of the heavy wooden double doors, followed closely by Celeste's father and their wrongful death attorney.
I can tell you it was a tough day for the victim's parents. Her mother, Mercedes, who sat through autopsy testimony, who sat through images showing her daughter's remains in the cadaver bags. She walked out of the courtroom during this testimony today. I could hear her holding back, racking sobs. The victim's father walked out behind her. So did their attorney, their wrongful death attorney, Patrick Steinfeld.
You can hear the grief echoing in the hallway, and suddenly, sitting at the defense table, David isn't stoic anymore. The cameras catch it. The sketch artists catch it. The unshakable pop star is suddenly shrinking in his seat. His right leg starts jiggling uncontrollably under the table. He hunches over. For the first time in 4 days, he picks up a yellow legal pencil and starts frantically scribbling notes, whispering aggressively to his attorneys.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point as we think about the heavy charge that he's facing. I mean, certainly the charge of sexual abuse of a child, that is an incredibly serious charge. But when you're talking about the murder charge, what does that digital evidence show? Potentially we'll learn something new on Monday. Julia Dang, reporter with NBC LA. Great to have you working for us here on Law and Crime. Thank you for being in the courtroom, and we'll see you next week. We will continue to follow David's preliminary hearing as it continues here on Law and Crime. You can also check out the Law and Crime Plus app. We have documents there. We have our previous episodes. You can also find our previous content right here on YouTube to get up to speed on everything in this high-profile case.